appreciate everybody coming out today. It's really exciting for me to be here. The great thing about working with the college players is just the growth and the development that we've seen through the course of the spring, the amount of improvement that our players made in those 15 days, most of which were in pads, is something that you never saw in the NFL because we never, could wear pads in the off season.
It's still a little odd seeing him in those uniform colors, but that's what the reality is. Bill Belichick sounds ready for his debut season as the University of North Carolina's head football coach, and the excitement is there. The school announced Wednesday that every single season and single game football ticket has been sold out at Kenan Stadium, the earliest point ever for the program to sell out all its tickets. But will they have the same success on the field? This is funny. Pat Narduzzi, the coach at Pitt, had this to say: I expect him to be in the championship game against Pitt because you got Bill Belichick. You better be, right? Poking a little bit there, but Damien Woody, you played for this man. What are your expectations for Bill Belichick in his 70s, year one, University of North Carolina?
Well, listen, I think that, I had a chance to go down and watch the team in the spring practice. And, at that time, you could tell like there was some personnel changes that need to be made. They need to upgrade the roster. But I think Mike T pointed out something astutely on Get Up. Their schedule is very, very favorable for UNC. And listen, the one thing we know about Coach Belichick, he's going to have them coached up. There's not going to be a situation that these young men aren't going to be prepared for. They might be lacking in talent, but as far as on the field and being ready to go, they're going to be good to go. I mean, just look at this schedule. Obviously, you opened up at TCU, but you got Charlotte, Richmond, UCF. Who knows what Cal is going to be, Virginia. Sorry, Mike. Stanford, Wake Forest. There's a lot of runway for a UNC team that could, win 7, maybe 8 games.
Yeah, and just to add to that, UCF has a new coach, Stanford has a new coach. So when expectations are low and the schedule looks like that, that's where, to me, the narrative could be like, oh, wow, they could really exceed expectations. And, I had the privilege of working with Coach Belichick twice in my career. He believes in the fundamentals. He believes in player development. And you can still hear his frustration about not having pads in the spring, not from a, being a disciplined guy, but more from skill development. And that's something that he took a ton of pride in. And I think we put so much time and effort in 4-star or 5-star, how much talent does this team have? But I think what these players will have is the desire to get better. So maybe, it's a little bit ironically talking about the Jets. Maybe the ceiling isn't as high as, let's say, a Clemson or an FSU. But I think they're going to be well coached. They're going to get better. They're going to be tough. And let's see where they are in a year or two. I think this will have a better outcome than others.
So, Peter, I'm going to ask you one quick question.
Yeah.
What is the most prestige position on the football field?
I would say quarterback.
Quarterback position. You're only as good as your quarterback allows you to be. At the high school level, the collegiate level, the National Football League, and, they have a transfer from South Alabama, Gio Lopez, but he's a guy that's more of an RPO, showcase the athleticism, get him outside the pocket. You have Max Johnson, who's still on the roster for North Carolina as well. So what does the quarterback position look like for North Carolina? But then you also look along that roster, and you see a lot of transfers. How quickly can you get these guys to jail for a common goal? And I think another challenge for Bill Belichick is, how much patience are you going to be able to have? Because it's different when you're coaching guys in the National Football League and you're giving them information to retain, right, in that meeting room, and you have to go right on that practice field and display everything that you just learned, right? These are college kids now, so the learning curve may be a bit steeper for them coming out of high school, getting adjusted to things that you're coaching them as well, because let's be honest, coaching at the high school level and then you're getting coached by Bill Belichick, dude, that's a massive
I look at it
gap.
just the opposite. I'd like to say this. I see college kids. I walk around New York City. They're sitting on their phone.
There you go.
They're filming TikTok.
Those cell phones.
They're doing all that. Belichick in the NFL, it was a professional job. Belichick could look at a kid and say, a young rookie, they're good at it. These guys control the power now. NIL and transfer. Can Bill Belichick be the same Bill Belichick he was with you when you were a professional providing for a family as he is with an 18-year-old kid who could say, you know what? Forget this guy. I'll go play somewhere else, and I'll make some more money doing it.
Well, I mean, that to me is the big question mark. You got a, coach in Bill Belichick who's 73 years old, and now you're dealing with 18, 19-year-olds who have options. That's the thing, in college football now, these young men have options. If they don't If they're not getting playing time, they could be like, you know what? In the middle of the season, coach, I'm out. I'm not playing anymore. I'm going somewhere else. And so the big question for Bill Belichick is, how well can you adapt to this new environment in college football? I
have reservations.
I think it's good. It's an adjustment period. I really
think you're asking the wrong question.
Okay,
and here's why. I actually think it's easier for Bill Belichick because basically in our country, guys, we have Pro Football Sunday, which is known as the NFL.
Yep.
We have pro football on Saturday, which is also known as college football. They get paid, right? We have the draft. That's known as scholarships. We have free agency. That's known as a transfer portal. I'm not so sure, guys, that it's not easier for Bill Belichick in year one to go coach players that are getting paid than fill in the blank, Dabo Swinney, these other dyed-in-the-wool college coaches who, for the first time, have to manage those really awkward conversations of, hey, pay me more money.
That's a great point.
Nope. I disagree.
Wait, hold on.
If we're talking about Pete Carroll, then yes, you have an argument.
Fair point also. This is not
about Pete Carroll.
Belichick.
We're talking about Bill Belichick, Mike T.
But Bill Belichick for 30, 40 years, whatever it was, has dealt with people coming in, asking for more money, dealing with it. I made that point to Paul Feinbaum. Like, it's just not easy running an NFL team. You're dealing with a lot of things from the media, ownership.
Does he have a nurturing, warm, and fuzzy side that we just haven't seen for these young players? You think so?
I know so because I work for him. And all my point is, like, D. Wood, you've been around it. The players know they're going to get better. So if I'm being selfish and I want to make as much money as I can and I'm looking at college football as an investment, I want to invest into Bill Belichick because the return on investment is a lucrative NFL career. And I will put the inverse to you guys, which is fill in the blank, Dabo Swinney, just to pick a name. He's never had dealt with that. You're going to leave? What do you mean you're going to leave? You can't leave. The learning curve is arguably higher than that of Bill's.
All right, this is an interesting one, and the producers and I had a good conversation before the show. You've got Belichick in his first year in Chapel Hill, and then you've got Robert Kraft handpicking Mike Vrabel to come back to Foxborough. Relatively speaking, because of course it's different games and all that, who do you think has a better first year? Mike Vrabel in New England or Bill Belichick in North Carolina, Harry Douglas?
I'm going with Mike Vrabel. I really am. I talked about the most prestige position at all these levels, and that's the quarterback. Well, we know who the quarterback is for the New England Patriots. That's Drake May. So all you had to do was just surround him with a little pieces. So you go get a Stephon Diggs. You draft a human joystick in Kyle Williams from Washington State. You go get Travion Henderson, who can not only rush the football, but also beat you in the pass game as well, and block and pass protection. You look at that defense and you say, man, we got two number one corners now too, right? We have Carlton Davis. We also have Christian Gonzalez. We have some guys that can rush the passer. I'm putting my faith in a guy that has already done it in that position versus a Bill Belichick where everything is nuanced to him.
I think the question is, or the word better, the context is exceeding expectations.
Sure.
I'm a big fan of Mike Vrabel, Drake May. I think Patriots are going to be good, no doubt about it. I just think from, like, even hearing things like every ticket's been sold out, like, in some ways we're already seeing that Bill Belichick momentum. And again, because of the schedule, and you think about where Stanford and Cal is, like, Clemson's going to be a hard game. We know, and we don't know about
Syracuse is going to be a hard game for him too.
Okay, right. So you're talking about 3 or 4 hard games. I just think if the four of us are sitting here in late November, December, we're talking about a North Carolina team that I think they're going to win more than 6.7 games. They're going to exceed expectations, Peter. So to answer your question, I think he has the better year, not necessarily because Mike Vrabel isn't a good coach, but I just think because the bar is so low in North Carolina.
I'm going to go with Mike Vrabel, and a lot of it has to do. And listen, I have immense respect for both coaches. Obviously, Mike Vrabel being a former teammate of mine, but I'm going to say Mike Vrabel because Mike Vrabel has the infrastructure in New England. He knows the ins and outs of that New England Patriots organization. I'll tell you a guy that I think that that's very underrated. Having Josh McDaniels back in the building, like. That's huge.
Like another head coach.
It's another head coach. He's been in that position before. You know, the one area when you watch the Patriots teams, you know, the past couple of years, it's been glaring. Like the offense has been horrendous. Whether it's lack of talent or coaching. Now you got Josh McDaniels making that, you know, obviously running that show. Mike Vrabel, the defense. I'm going to go there. And Listen, this is not a slight towards Bill Belichick. I think the biggest thing is the unknown of being in college football.
Fair.
Right.
That's the only thing. I think schedule is very favorable. I think that's the biggest thing working.
I think
working
the
in that
football might be secondary to the other stuff of having to adjust
Guys,
to it.
I just see a melding more of football guys. Like, I think Saturday football and Sunday football is getting closer and closer. These guys are getting paid. They are
Bigger adjustment, though, for Belichick to go to the college game than Vrabel to go from, being assistant with the Browns to the
Totally
head coach.
fair.
Yeah.
But I'm saying Bill compared to his competitors now, which is, again, like, why did Nick Saban leave? He probably didn't want to deal with this anymore. So, like, to me, I just think Bill has been used to it. I thought Urban Meyer, it was a little bit off the cuff, but it was funny when they were like, hey, you want to be the GM of a college team? He's like, and deal with the agents of a 17, 18, 19-year-old. I'd rather step on like a rusty nail.
Yeah.
But the point is, like, Coach Belichick's dealt with agents and he's dealt with players that want more money, where a lot of these coaches have.
The only pushback I'll give you towards that is, when was the last time he dealt with 18-year-olds, 18, 19-year-olds? That's a whole different
My nephew
animal.
lives with me.
Okay, how old?
He just turned 18. He's going to college this season.
And he wants more money.
My niece is at my house right now, my brother's first child. Like, dealing with 16, 17, 18-year-olds is completely different than dealing with 25-year-olds or 30-year-olds, Mike T.